Welcome back. This is Mrs. RRubright with Advanced Geometry. Today's lesson is Notes 1.3, Use Midpoint and Distance Formulas. Alright, so in the skateboard design, segment VW bisects segment XY at point T. Alright, so bisects. What do you guys think that means? Bisects. It cuts it into two equal parts. So it says that this segment right here is bisecting XY into two equal parts. You see these two little red tick marks? These say, hey dude, I'm equal. So they're saying that segment XT is congruent to segment TY. So if segment XT is 39.9 centimeters, then segment XY, well, if this is 39.9 and this is 39.9 because it's cut into two equal segments, then when you multiply that by 2, what do you get? 79.8. How did I do that? Well, 40 plus 40 is 80, and you're 0.2 shy of 80, 79.8. You shouldn't have to pick up your calculator for that. All right, and this is the segment addition postulate. Part plus part equals the whole. Point M is the midpoint. Midpoint, it's the point in the middle, right? It breaks it into two equal parts. It's the point that bisects the segment. So point M is the midpoint of VW. Find the length of VM. Well, if it breaks it into two equal parts, set these two equal parts equal, right? They're congruent to each other. Set them equal to each other and solve. So we need to get the x's to the same side using opposite operations. 3x's minus 3x's is 0. It's gone, so we cross it out. 4x minus 3x is 1x. 1x minus 1 equals 3. We need to get rid of whatever's on the same side of the variable that is not attached to it using opposite operations, inverse operations. So the opposite of negative 1 is positive 1. So negative 1 plus 1 is 0. It's gone. X equals 3 plus 1 is 4. All right, so if your x equals 4. So now plug back in. We want to know what this length is. So 4 times 4 minus 1. 16 minus 1 is 15. Let's just double check that it works out here too, because if it doesn't, then we know we messed something up. 3 times 4 is 12. 12 plus 3 is 15, so we know that we're good and we didn't mess anything up. So what is the length? The length is 15. Our final answer is 15. In exercises 1 and 2, identify the segment bisector. So a segment bisector does what? It bisects a segment. It cuts a segment into two equal parts. So identify the segment bisector. So what is our segment bisector here? Ray MN is cutting it into two equal parts, right? And then what is PQ? Well, if this part is 1 7/8 and this part is 1 7/8, and segment addition postulate says I add them up and I get the full length. So 1 plus 1 is 2, and 7/8 plus 7/8, 7 plus 7 is 14. The bottom stays the same, right? You have to have a common denominator for adding or subtracting fractions. 14/8 is 1 and 8 goes in there once. 6 more left over. 1 6/8, which is really 1 2/3 if you reduce, right? So if you have 2 plus 1 2/3, you'd have 3 2/3 total. Make sense? Identify the segment bisector of PQ. The segment bisector of PQ is line L, right? It's bisected at midpoint M by line L. Then find PQ. So we want to know the whole thing. Well, what do we know? We know that 5x minus 7 is equal to 11 minus 2x. So we need to solve for x first. We're going to add 2x to both sides because what you do to one side, you must do to the other so that we can move these together. 7x minus 7 equals 11. Now we just have a normal two-step equation. Get rid of whatever's on the same side of the variable that is not attached to the variable using opposite operations. 7x equals, negative 7 plus 7 is gone, right? Equals 18. Divide by 7, divide by 7. These are not nice numbers. X equals 18 over 7. make any mistakes, or is it just nasty numbers? I did it right, so they just gave us really ugly numbers. So we need to plug back in to find this measurement. So 5 times 18 over 7 minus 7. All right, so 5 times 18, that'd be like 100 minus 10, 90. Yeah, 90 over 7 minus 7 over 1. Let's get a common denominator. And 90 minus 49 is 41, so 41 sevenths. So we have 41 sevenths here. This should also be 41 sevenths. You could, if this was a test, I would definitely plug in the 18 over 7 here as well and make sure that you get 41 over 7 here as well. Because if you don't, then you mess something up. For saving time, since this is not a test, we're just going to double this, so times 2. So you'd have 82 over 7 as your final answer. Although, if we wanted to change that into a mixed number, that would be 11 and 5 sevenths. Okay? Your calculator does do that for you. If you put in 82 over 7, second ABC, it will change it into the mixed number. If it's a non-calculator portion, the easiest way to cheat this is to think 7 goes into 82 how many times? 7 times 7 is 49. 7 times 11 is 77. 7 times 12 would be 77 plus 7 more. That's too many. So then you see, okay, it's only 5 more than 77. So it's 11 and 5 sevenths. The bottom stays the same. The endpoints of RS are 1, negative 3, and 4, 2. What is the midpoint? The midpoint's smack dab in the middle. So if we're going from a height of negative 3 to a height of 4, that's a difference of what? Or sorry, a height of 2. We're going from a height of negative 3 to a height of 2, that's a difference of 5. 5 divided by 2 is 2.5. So going 2.5 up, you go 1, 2, and a half, you're at a half. And then for your x values, the difference here, you're going from an x value of 1 to an x value of 4. So that's a difference of 3. 3 divided by 2 is 1.5. So 1, 2, 2.5. So you're at 2.5, negative 1/2. 2.5, negative 1/2. Another way you could do this is just using the midpoint formula. The midpoint formula is x2 plus x1 divided by 2, y2 plus y1 divided by 2. Or you could put 1, 2, 1, 2. It doesn't really matter. Add your x's divided by 2, add your y's divided by 2. So 1 plus 4 is 5. 5 divided by 2 is 2.5. Negative 3 plus 2 is negative 1. Divided by 2 is negative 1/2. And you get the same answer doing that. Okay? Midpoint formula. Add your x's divided by 2, add your y's divided by 2. Find the endpoint. The midpoint of JK is 2, 1. And we want to know what the endpoint is. All right, well, same formula, right? You add this plus this divided by 2 equals this. So 1 plus what divided by 2 equals your 2, right? Add your x's divided by 2. All right, so we're going to multiply by 2 on both sides. 1 plus what equals 4. Subtract 1. X equals 3. So your x is going to be 3. For your y's, give me 1 second, guys. For your y's, 4 plus what divided by 2 equals 1. So multiply by 2 on both sides. 4 plus what equals 2. Subtract 4 on both sides. And you get that y equals negative 2. So 3, negative 2 is the coordinates for that. Find the endpoint. The midpoint of JK is 2, 1, and the endpoint is 1, 4. Find the coordinates of endpoint K. All right, so when you're finding the coordinates, once again, you're just going to use the midpoint formula. So 1 plus what divided by 2 is 2. 1 plus what divided by 2 equals 2. So you're going to get 4. And you multiply by 2 on both sides. 1 plus what equals 4. Subtract 1 from both sides. X equals 3. And then for the next one, for your y's, 4 plus what divided by 2 equals 1. Multiply by 2 on both sides. 4 plus what equals 2. subtract 4 on both sides, y equals -2. So your endpoint is going to be at 3, -2. I had paused the video, and I'm not sure if I already did this problem or not. If I did, you just got it twice. Sorry about that. The endpoints of AB are 1, 2, and 7, 8. Find the coordinates of the midpoint. So once again, midpoint, add your x's, divide by 2, add your y's, divide by 2. 1 plus 7, divide by 2. 2 plus 8, divide by 2. 1 plus 7 is 8. 8 divided by 2 is 4. 2 plus 8 is 10. 10 divided by 2 is 5. Your midpoint is at 4, 5. And the midpoint of VW is -1, -2. And one endpoint is 4, 4. What are the coordinates of the other endpoint? So I just like to draw this out as 4, 4, -1, -2. I don't draw it anywhere to scale. Obviously, this is not on a coordinate plane. And then my last one is going to be x, y. It just helps me visualize. 4 plus what divided by 2 is -1. And 4 plus what divided by 2 equals -2. Multiply by 2 on both sides. 4 plus what equals -1 times -2. It was -2? No, it's +2, right? Yeah. So -1 times 2. I couldn't tell if that was a negative or not. -1 times 2 is -2. Subtract 4 on both sides. X equals -6. All right, over here, times 2 on both sides. 4 plus what, y, or plus what, equals -4. Subtract 4 on both sides. Y equals -8. So your endpoint is at -6, -8. You can always go and double check that. 4 plus -6 is -2. -2 divided by 2 is -1. 4 plus -8 is -4. -4 divided by 2 is -2. So we know that we are correct. What is the approximate length of RS with the endpoints 2, 3, and 4, -1? So this we're going to use the distance formula. The distance formula is x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared, and you take the square root of that whole thing. So here's your x, here's your y, here's your x, here's your y. We'll call this point 2, and this one point 1. x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared, square root. 4 minus 2 is 2. 2 squared is 4. -1 plus minus 3 is plus -3, right? -1 plus -3 is -4. -4 squared is 16. 16 plus 4 is 20. So the square root of 20 is your answer. The square root of 20 in simplest radical form, a perfect square that goes into 20 is 4. So it's really 2 rad 2. And we can get into reducing radicals in a little bit. So if you just take your calculator and do 20 square root button, you're going to get 4.4721. So that is approximately 4.5C. And our last page. In example 4, does it matter which ordered pair you choose to substitute for x1, y1, and which one you choose for x2, y2? No, it does not, as long as you stay consistent. It does not, as long as you stay consistent. And that is everything for our notes on 1.3, use midpoint and distance formulas. Please like our video and subscribe to our channel. Have a great day.